Good evening. I want to thank you once again for attending our first college and career night. We're very excited about this event tonight. And I want to give a great hand to our panel and all the admissions counselors out in the Commons area that gave up their time tonight to come out to Snohomish Valley to introduce our families and community to post-high school options. It's very exciting. So I'm sure we will be doing this again. So look forward in the future. I just wanted to say I am Kelly Essig. I'm the career specialist here at Mountside High School. And this part of the evening will be the admissions panel discussion. And how this is going to work is I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Galligan, one of our counselors, in just a minute. And he will go over the Mountside High School college application process, what that looks like here at Mountside High School. And then we will go ahead and turn it over to our panel of advisors who you are all here to hear from. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Galligan.
Thank you. I just want to say a few words about the Mountside Counseling Center and the services that we provide. We have a very structured process for helping kids apply to college, which usually takes place senior year, where we're actively interacting with our seniors, helping them with the college application process. There are 4 counselors and a career specialist, and so we are meeting with a lot of seniors, helping them with the process, helping them identify colleges, helping them through the process of actually submitting applications, recommendations, etc. I would just like to recommend to you that really the best thing is a face-to-face conference with a counselor or a career specialist with Kelly here. We would like to sit down with you. That really works the best is if you're sitting down with a counselor in an office, talking about this, exploring this, looking at deadlines, that whole process. It's just more meaningful for us, and we think for you as parents and also for your students. And so we would encourage you at any point, any grade level, to start talking with counselors and with Kelly so that we can assist you in this process. That's kind of why we're here, and we would like to do that with you, and it tends to mean a lot more. Okay, so we're going to turn it over to the panel and let them introduce themselves, say a little bit about their school, and then we're going to do questions and answers.
So we'll start with Lola.
Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, great. So my name is Lola Reyes. I'm an academic advisor with Bellevue College. Welcome Mountside students, parents, faculty. We just had a name change, so I brought my cheat sheet. I'm part of Entry and Academic Advising Service. So we have academic advising and admissions rolled into one department now, and that's been within the last month or so. And I work with undecided exploratory students, so I work closely with the Career Center at Bellevue College. So thank you for your work. And we are formerly Bellevue Community College. We acquired the college name, we dropped the community because we brought on 3 bachelor's programs, but they're very specific. They're in interior design, radiation imaging, and health informatics. That's brand new that we wrote out this fall. So we are still traditionally a 2-year institution helping students. The majority of the students that we help are to prepare for a 4-year transfer. So we offer an array of transfer degrees depending on the major that you'd like to pursue. So I want to welcome you all and invite you, invite you to come to Bellevue College as well. We have information sessions there. And am I going to do question and answer now? Or we'll go down? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, I am Haley Beckman. I'm from the University of Idaho, so a little bit further away than Bellevue College, or a lot further, but we're right next to Pullman, Washington, which Casey will talk about a little later. We're 8 miles away from them, but I think from you guys it's about 3.5 hours, so it's really not that far. We're located in Moscow, so it's a small college town. You get that unique college experience. Our student population is 12,312 students. Yes, I did memorize that. But the size of the town is only 24,000 students, so we make up a little over half the size of the population. You will get that unique college experience with, with academics as well. We have over 140 different majors and minors, so it just depends what you're interested in. We have popular majors, and we just have majors that students enjoy. questions about that later, you can let me know. I was an out-of-state student, so I did go there for 4 years. I graduated in 2009, and I paid the out-of-state tuition, so I know we'll have questions about that as well. And I also played Division I athletics, so if you have a question about our sports teams, I can point you in the right direction, but if you have a question about soccer, I can tell you about that. So I talked a lot, I'm excited, and I didn't even have coffee, so welcome parents and students. There's Casey.
My name is Casey Melnick with Washington State University, just a little bit closer than Dubai and Moscow, 8 miles apart. Moscow actually has the best restaurant, bagel shop, though. So it's much, much better than that. I just graduated from Pullman in May. It is very, very cool. We have 17,365 students at the undergraduate level, so I memorized a number 2, out of 31,000 people in the city. So it's very similar in that same thread where you get that very unique college town feel, and we all love it. Go Cougs.
Well, hi everyone, my name is Andre Dickerson. I am also a recent grad. I'm from Central Washington University, which is in Ellensburg, Washington, about 70 minutes away from here. Probably one of the closest. So it's pretty cool. We offer about 110 degrees on the undergraduate level as well. Our population is about 9,800 students, with the population of Ellensburg being about 30,000 students. One of the also cool things about Central is our average class size is about 25 students. So it's pretty awesome, really relative to what you would expect here in high school. Helps with transition. Yeah, and I'm here to answer any question you may have regarding our program. Thank you.
Seems really heavy. So my name is Leslie Gonzalez. I'm like Casey, and from Central. I recently graduated from Western Washington University. So it is about, I'm trying to remember where, maybe about a good 2 hours north of here. So we're 20 minutes away from the Canadian border, so it's kind of fun. And if you have your passport, just hop in a car and go, and you're almost in Vancouver, BC. And if you don't really like Vancouver, you always have Seattle in your backyard too, so we're kind of in the middle. We're also right on the water in the bay. It's really, really beautiful. I love the view. Recommend if you want to go visit. Also, our average is about 15,000. I didn't memorize a number like everybody else has been doing. Yeah, I think it's about 14,902 or something, but we have about 160 programs at the undergraduate level. We are primarily an undergraduate institution. So about 13,000 of our 15,000 students are undergrads, and it's kind of nice for incoming students. A lot of resources go to you. Expect to have experience within your major, being a research assistant like I did, but I think something that I really like to talk about is that I did Green River Community College first before transferring to Western. So if you have any questions about that process, I'd be happy to answer that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Katie O'Brien. I'm an assistant director at Seattle University, and we are a bit smaller, around 4,600 undergrad students. We're located right in the heart of Seattle, so we're about a 15 to 20 minute walk from the main downtown area of Pike Place Market. So we're going to be a little bit different in that we are definitely in an urban setting, but we have a fairly traditional campus as well. We require freshmen and sophomores to live on campus. You're not hiking through city blocks or anything like that, but you're certainly going to be in a very urban setting. We have 64 undergraduate programs in 5 different colleges. Happy to answer any questions you have about that. We're also a Jesuit Catholic university.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carl Smith. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions at the University of Washington Seattle campus. I am a graduate of the University of Washington way back in 1999, so that means I started in 1995. Realize some of the students in here are probably born about that time, which is okay. University of Washington, if I was to kind of sum it up in a nutshell, is a large public research institution offering over 165 different majors with 300 different options. 32 of those majors are rated in the top 10 by U.S. News and World Reports, which may not mean a whole hill of beans, but it does mean that they think about us somewhere in the world. We receive $1.5 billion in research. The majority of our faculty will do research as well as teach. About 7% 7,000 of our undergraduates will participate in research every single year. About 2,200 of those students will do study abroad. The university has a 643-acre campus, big enough to have its own zip code, but you're 5 miles from downtown Seattle. And so when the campus feels too small, you can take advantage of the rest of the city. One thing I did want to make sure that I say is that we are still accepting Washington State residents. This past year, about 6 out of 10 Washington State residents who applied were admitted, so about 60%. And we enrolled slightly more than 4,000 students from Washington in our incoming class this year.
Okay, so now is the time to take advantage of them being here. First of all, I want to say some admission counselors, when they come to visit at Mount Say High School and the kids come into the Career Center for college visits, they are actually talking with the admissions counselor that will read their application. I am not sure if each one of these people does that. I could probably guess who, but that might be something to ask. That's a very important thing to know because it's face-to-face time with the person that's going to be, giving your application a read over. So that's very, very important. So we're going to open it up now to you guys.
Yeah.
It's going to be Vanna.
This is a question for all of you. What I'd like to know is what are the admissions deadlines? What I've noticed is there are going to be differences as to when the applications are actually due. I've already looked at many major universities and their applications are due January 1st, but then I looked at University of Washington and it looks like yours is due December 1st?
Yes, our admissions application deadline is December 1st. If a student needs to take the SAT or ACT, we will take those December tests as long as they reach us by December 31st.
What about all the other universities and colleges?
At Seattle University, our early action deadline is November 15th. That is a non-binding deadline that if students apply by that deadline, they'll get a decision between Christmas and New Year's. We also have a regular decision deadline of January 15th. Students who apply by that date will get a decision in the first week of March. The only difference between those two deadlines is when a student gets a response. Scholarship, financial aid, everything's going to be the same.
Okay, so Western's is January 31st, and we have what we call the rolling admissions, which means that, students can hear anytime 4 to 6 weeks after they submit. So if it's, now, the earliest that any student can know is November 1st, but we just have a rolling admissions.
Very similar to Western Central, same, we are rolling basic admissions, basically meaning, for the most part, that we deal with each individual application as its own priority, and the aspect of our priority deadline is March. But the reason why we push the March deadline is so that students can look forward to coming in for our student orientations in the summer. But I would say that we've had students that have actually been admitted up until the 10th day of classes starting for fall quarter. Granted, because similar to Western, we're a rolling basic admissions, but we really push for March.
Washington State University is similar to Central in that we do have rolling admissions as well, and students can be accepted up to the 10th day of class. Our application can close early if we've met a certain amount of students. Our priority deadline, though, is January 31st, so that is priority as well as the scholarship deadline.
Okay, the University of Idaho, our priority deadline is February 15th. So what I tell students, day after Valentine's Day, okay? Get your mom something nice and don't forget to apply before February 15th. Now that's priority. We don't have a separate scholarship application like WSU. It's separate. With us, your admission application is your scholarship application. You can start filling it out the day after you complete your junior year of high school. So you could fill it out over the summer, and we could let you know, if you make eligibility for admission. What I like to tell students is we've all said different dates, and Bellevue might be different as well. Get a calendar for your students. Look at the colleges that you're considering and write down priority deadlines should be your deadlines, especially for scholarships, because you could miss out on free money that you already qualify for. And that's my spiel.
Well, thank you so much for asking that question. That's so important, and I'm excited to answer that because working at the community college level, we do have the highest transfer rates to a four-year institutions such as these ones here that my colleagues work for. Sorry. And so the good news for where I work is that we are a open enrollment campus, and this is due to accessibility. We have served students from all walks of life, and so there is not an entrance requirement other than being 18 years of age to come to Bellevue College. So if you're 18 years of age or older, you don't even need a high school diploma to take classes at Bellevue College. So the important deadlines that you want to consider for Bellevue College are the financial aid deadlines, because you want to make sure you have funding in place. And you can always go to the colleges and universities and look at their specific dates through the specific websites. You also want to take a look at the deadlines for registration, or when the dates are for registration, because the earliest that you can select your classes, then the better options and opportunities you have. But you can take classes the day of the quarter, so you can register for classes all the way into even the first week that classes start at Bellevue College. So that's the good news with choosing a two-year institution. I do see a lot of students who, unfortunately, they, due to maybe a lack of planning, or maybe they just did not get accepted to a university, they'll come to Bellevue College, and maybe they'll do a quarter or two until the next time it is that they can apply, and they'll get in right away, like the week that classes start. And it's a little bit more difficult to match classes, but we can definitely serve you at Bellevue College in those types of situations. So thank you for asking.
Okay, what I learned from my son is that when you apply to a university or a college, you're not guaranteed a spot in the program that you want. And so what we're trying to do with my daughter, I'm trying to be a little bit smarter this time around and find out how competitive the program that she's interested in is at different universities. How do I find that out on the website? So I haven't been able to find that very easily. So for example, when Craig was interested in architecture, it would have been almost impossible to get into that program at the University of Washington. It's very, very selective. He found that out by actually interviewing people in that department, but we couldn't find that information online. Then when he went to Montana State, that was more, that was an easier transition for the students. So how did we find that out without having to make visits to the colleges? The actual program that the student is going through.
Well, for starters, you can ask us, because we get paid to answer your questions, and if we don't know the answer, we can talk with people in the architecture department to find that out. But if you don't want to talk to us because it's awkward or I'm going to keep talking to you, you can definitely go on our websites. They should be user-friendly, and if not, that's why I say talk to us. But with the University of Idaho, if you go on our academics page, so you can start out with Google, type in the school that you're looking at or the college, find the webpage, use the search bar, it's usually on the top right, and you can type in programs. But usually there's a friendly admissions tab, and ours has academics, and then you can type in architecture, send an email straight to the architecture program. If you don't hear back from them, which you should, then you can contact us, but they can let you know, with those guidelines. And with the University of Idaho, you can select any major that you want. There are some requirements to getting into the college. Space is not an issue, but GPA, based on the classes that you take on campus, they'll have, some are more competitive with their GPA, so that could be a factor.
I would say as far as Central, very similar. For the majority of the degrees that we have on campus, the majority of the departments, space is never really the issue. It's kind of a GPA requirement. For me, I did biology and I did chemistry, and I just had to maintain a 2.25, which is relatively like a C+ average through the program. But we do have some programs that are very highly competitive, such as our construction management program. very, very limited as far as the spaces because of the resources and kind of the length and extension of which they prepare within the courses. But kind of elaborating back to what my colleague was just saying from Idaho, yeah, you can contact the departments and the secretary if you're unable to contact any of us in additions, whether we're recruiters and counselors, vice versa. They should be able to tell you because I know that there are a number of people that are on the waiting list that find themselves on a waiting list for a major for a year before they get accepted into the degree. And it's unfortunate sometimes, but it's just because of the competitive nature of the program and essentially the value of that degree. And that does not, it doesn't really matter gender-wise. It's typically, like you said, it's GPA, kind of your interview, and kind of just natural charisma, what your career aspirations are, and from there you decide what resources to pour into.
So from Western, I've had a lot of students asking, how do I apply to the program? So I did sociology, and the way it works is that you pick up a form, and usually what they do is they require you to, do some prerequisites. So do the introductory courses, make sure you get a good score, because the thing that we as a university do not want to happen, or even the department, is that you fail out or you don't do well in the coursework, like the prep work. And I've seen students who try to get over and over again into like the sociology, and the reason usually why they don't get in is because they are not doing the pre-rep programs or not getting the GPA that they need. So that's one aspect of it. Also planning, do plan ahead, do plan. One of the things that a lot of students don't know is that you have to do, like for example, you did biology. A biology series has to be completed, at least at our university, at one institution. So whether you complete a biology series like at a community college and then transfer over or at Western, it can really make a big difference as far as getting into a program. So that's, that's what I have to say about Western so far.
And I'll just say real briefly that Seattle University is actually a little unique in that sense, and definitely check with the colleges that you're thinking of applying to, because we offer direct entry to the programs. So if the student indicates on their application that they want nursing, for instance, they're admitted to the university, they're in the nursing program, they'll still do prerequisites in their first 2 years, but provided they're passing all those prerequisites, that spot is saved for them in their junior year for the nursing program. So it's the same with all of our programs. There might be some differences in terms of engineering and some additional high school prerequisites that students have to offer, but be sure to check with all the colleges that you're interested in so you can find out what those options are.
And I would just say, kind of just big picture, visit the department's website that you're interested in learning more about at that institution, and look for a tab that probably is geared towards prospective students and then current students. That current student tab is usually going to have information on either declaring a major or applying to a major. If they're talking about applying, then you know that you found a competitive major at that institution. But overall, when you're at the admissions website, you're basically at an information and marketing tool. When you get to the advising website on a college campus, that's when you're in the pieces that the students who are current students are actually going through. And that's kind of a quick way if you don't want to survey it, or if you're interested in, let's say, 5 different majors, instead of doing that on each department's website, just go to their general advising webpage, and you'll probably find out quite a bit of information, because they're giving information to current students, and you're seeing the challenges of current students on that page.
And one other note with that one is, as you found out before, not every college is going to be the same, and their strengths and weaknesses in different programs are going to be different based off that university. So really make sure that you're getting into contact with each university you're looking into, and don't just be assuming that one is going to be the same as another, even if they're all in-state and they have similar programs.
And at Bellevue College, it's a little different because if you know what major you're planning to transfer into or what university you're planning to transfer into, then what we'll do is get you set up on an educational plan and work towards a transfer degree to get you into that school and that program. But what we'll want to start doing is asking you questions such as, well, what are you thinking of majoring in? So let's say you say psychology, then we'll want, and what universities are you thinking that you might want to apply to? So what we'll want to start doing is looking at that university. So we'll, want to take a look at admissions requirements for that specific program because this is the end goal. The end goal is a bachelor's degree in psychology or architecture and electrical engineering, whatever it may be. And so then what we'll do is we'll take a look at the prerequisites. What are the core classes that they're going to need you to take, the 1 and 200 level classes? And then at Bellevue College, what we'll want to do is see if we have the equivalent or that course, so that way they can take that within their first 2 years. And that way, as far as planning goes, is the soonest that you can plan, then just the more efficient and less money that you'll have to spend and less frustration. So that's pretty much the process that we take you through at Bellevue College. But if you go straight into a university, these are the same steps that you can begin to follow, is go ahead at this time, start doing that planning and looking at the university and the programs, look at the admissions requirements for the college, for the university, as well as the program requirements for that major, because they are going to be different. And then also, on the flip side of it, if you're undecided or you're still exploring, that's fine too. We have services to support you and to help you to find your passions and help you to make a decision. Your first 2 years generally are going to be your general education courses anyways, your math, humanities, social sciences, those sorts. So don't panic, because we can, your first quarter, your first semester in college, you're okay, even if you have no idea what your major is and all of your friends do. That's fine, because maybe later on down they're going to change their minds. And so I just want, students and parents to know that we're here to support you, and we've seen all sorts of students and decide and change their minds and so forth. And we are always welcome to help you through the system, so you don't have to do it alone. So where do you go? Where do you look? Come directly to us. If you don't feel comfortable researching, some of us are researchers, some of us are not, some of us are resourceful, some of us are not. If you don't know where to go, that's okay. Just come to the expert. That's what I always tell my students. Don't ask your peers to tell you what classes to take. You go to the expert. That's what we're here for. So thank you.
Other questions?
Could you explain the transfer process from a 2-year college to a university?
So at Bellevue College, we have many 2-year transfer degree pathways. So if your major is in business, we have a educational plan that we will establish with your student that will hopefully hit some of the prerequisites, so that way they can enter in and apply to a business program. We have psychology, we have electrical engineering. So we have many 2-year transfer degrees that are designed specifically to your major. But at the same time, we're going to want to take a look at the specific university and see what their requirements are for the program, to see what classes that they're going to take. So at the community college level, we're more of a preparedness process, which is probably going to be different than.
So again, the University of Idaho. And if you're thinking about transferring, what we talk to students, I go to community colleges, I work with the transfer advisors. At your institution, let them know first that you are thinking about transferring. That way they can start preparing you. Any website for a 4-year university, we're public, so you can go on our website, check it out. We have a transfer page, all the brochures out on my table. I had freshman and transfer, so you can look at both. We have a transfer page that you can actually select an institution that you're currently at. So whether that's Bellevue College, you can select that, select the state of Washington first. And then you can see a class that you're currently taking and how that transfers over to us. We do have direct transfer agreements with certain schools. It just so happens Bellevue College is one of those. Everett Community College is another one, where if you get an associate's degree, so your AA, it will directly transfer over to the University of Idaho, as long as it's an accredited university, which all of us are. So you can ask the university to make sure that it is. And then we'll work with you. If you don't get your AA and you still want to come, we'll look at each individual credit to make sure that it transfers. Usually they do. There might be a couple classes that you have to take on our campus before you can start taking architecture classes, for example. But we'll definitely work with you. If you're doing Running Start in high school, or you have AP classes and you're like, my son or daughter, or I am a transfer student, if you're still in high school, you are not, according to the University of Idaho, you're still going to apply as an incoming freshman. We have 2 applications. One if you have less than 15 transferable credits, and one if you have more. So pretty easy if you have, transfer credit or not, if it's over 15 or not. And then if you have questions, it can be confusing because I probably confused some of you. I see your faces are like, what? Contact us, and a lot of us can help with the transfer process. If we can't, we will find someone, but I do both. So I work with transfer students and incoming freshmen, and you could be both as well.
I would like to just say that everything is the same for WSU as it is at U of I, except we have one transfer application, not 2 separate ones for depending on how many credits you have. The other thing to know on that is not only to talk to your advisors at the community college, also don't be afraid to call the advisors at whatever institutions you're looking into. Those advisors, whether they're at WSU or whatever school it might be, they see a lot of those transfer applications, work with a lot of those students, and they are very happy to help those students plan for whatever they're taking at the community college level to make sure that they're as prepared to hit the ground running at their institution when they get there as well. So definitely feel free to call them.
All right. Central, very similar. Few differences. One, we have a dual admissions agreement with just about every community college in the state of Washington. And what that is, essentially, is the direct transfer associate's degree that we were kind of discussing a little earlier. You acquire, more or less, you earn that direct transfer associate's degree, you're automatically accepted. But you have to make sure that, for the most part, you maintain that 2.5 or higher GPA. Same with 40 credits or more. If you have a student that does a year in community college, you're doing exceptionally well, they say, you know what, I'm not being challenged enough, or I think I'm ready for the university level, or financially, our circumstances have changes within the family dynamic, etc. Whatever the situation may be, 40 credits or more on the community college level, maintaining a 2.5 GPA or higher, you're automatically accepted to Central Washington University. Why is this the case? For the most part, students who perform well on the collegiate level, whether it be college, at the university, or the community college level, for the most part, we don't want you to jump through any additional hoops. We believe you. You say you can get the job done, we want to give you the opportunity to do it. Kind of going back to the Running Start students, there is not an additional application with us. I know it's very common to have additional applications on different university campuses. We don't have one. You can come in with a Running Start with a complete degree done. You're going to apply as a freshman. Why is this the case? Well, it's to your benefit. If you have all of these additional credits and you have a direct transfer associate that you've been able to earn while you're in high school, we still consider you to be a freshman because we want you to take the money. Central offers about $90 million a year to incoming freshmen. And I was discussing this with a few people earlier. We typically only give away about $60 million because the other $30 million goes untouched because no one applies for it. So we want to make sure that you are still eligible for that financial aid and the scholarship money that we can give to you as an incoming student. But once you transfer in, it's a direct transfer associates, then you will have junior standing. If it's not a direct transfer associates, then essentially we do the credit and course assessment to see what transfers over, and just essentially match you from there.
Okay, so at Western, we don't do that. What we do, I know, I was like, I'm like learning here. I was like, we don't do that. That's kind of cool. Because I transferred from Green River Community College, and I struggled a bit. I did plan very well. The problem was that some courses that were offered at Green River were unique to Green River, which means that there was no equivalent course at Western. What you can do if you are considering doing community college first is going to our website. We have a transfer equivalency sheet where you can type in the institution that you're at and where you want to transfer, which is Western. It'll let you know what we had the equivalency. A lot of students get kind of nervous that Bio 101 isn't Bio 101 at Western. It might be 102. And the numbers doesn't really matter. The point is in the context of what you're learning. Also, there's a lot of reasons to transfer. Reasons like your institution, you kind of have maxed out at your community college, and we do sometimes get students who can no longer pursue what it is that they need to at their community college and now feel like they have to move on to a four-year institution. So we will look at that as well. Also, what we do have, some students get kind of confused that once you do 45 credits, say your student graduates, they do 45 credits at community college, we no longer require their SAT or ACT scores or any or any high school transcripts. So you have to earn at least 45 of them at a community college until we don't require that. Yep, thank you.
CLU also honors the direct transfer agreement for Washington State community colleges. Generally, students are competitive who have a 3.0 or higher. We also accept transfer students who don't complete associate's degrees. So we honor the direct transfer. Basically means 90 credits in the door, and we won't look individually at the classes to see how they transfer over. Basically, it just means that a student will start in junior standing, depending on what program they're interested in. But if you have questions about that, you're welcome to contact me.
Only thing that I would add is at the University of Washington, we give priority to students coming from Washington State Community College. And so if a student goes to another four-year institution and wants to apply as a transfer student, they would be at a competitive disadvantage. The other piece that I would add is that preparation to enter directly into your major is considered. And so if you do decide to pursue community college route, you want to make sure that you have one eye on the courses at the University of Washington and making sure that the courses that you're taking based on those equivalency guide will transfer to the University of Washington and keep you on track to apply to that major at the time. I can go on and on about the transfer admissions process. The only thing that I will say is that it's a separate applicant pool. Transfer students compete against other transfer students, and about 30% of our incoming class is reserved for transfer students.
Questions?
So is there SAT, ACT testing, is there one that's preferred over another? And then you're able to take those tests over if you didn't get a good score. Is that counted against you? Are you looking at that going, wow, it took them 3 times or 2 times?
Of course, I'll jump in. The University of Idaho is very similar to WSU, and I'll talk a little bit with Casey, and you can add in too, but you can take either one. We offer both because some students do better on one or the other. What you can do is if you take the SAT and you're like, wow, I didn't do so hot, you can try it again, or maybe you want to try the ACT. It totally depends on what you do well on. If you take it again, and we will not hold that against you. We can superset your scores. So for example, for the SAT, we only look at the math portion and verbal reasoning. Do your best on the writing portion because that looks for scholarships, but we do not look at that for admissions. So it's only out of 1,600. Deep breath there. And if you take the SAT and do really well on math your first time, you take it again, and the second time you do better on your verbal reasoning, we can match those two up. So to kind of, we can superset it. And we won't look down on the previous scores at all. We'll just give you a pat on the back for taking it again and doing better on the other one. And I think I answered it, so.
Yeah, like Haley said, we're exactly the same. And we actually encourage students, if they don't feel comfortable with their first round scores to actually take it again. So it's more smile upon than frown upon.
Same. Either or, and typically it just matches the style and the testing style, learning style of the student. If they prefer the ACT to the SAT, we don't really have like an average or a cutoff. Kind of going back to what we were saying about being a rolling-based admissions. I kind of heard somewhere up here at Central we have a 3.4 GPA automatic acceptance if you have all of the caters, which is kind of like the college admissions distribution requirements. And at that point, your scores kind of just become obsolete. It doesn't really matter because we read and your strengths within that's reflected in your GPA. So yeah, it's lower.
Can you repeat your second question? Yeah, I believe you had 2.
Is it frowned upon if you have to take the test multiple times to get a better score?
Okay, no, definitely. I always have this discussion with other admissions counselors from Western. We actually don't mind that at all because it shows that you're actually doing quite a bit of work, like he said. It's 4 hours. The fact that you're going back over and over again, that's 12 hours of your life. So, we of showing other skills too that you are very determined. So we kind of draw other interpretations from that. Also, if you don't do well on either of those tests, it's not the end all be all because we do look at everything. So we'll look at what you did in 4 years. So anything from 9th grade to 10 to 12, 11, 12, compared to what you did in 4th grade, in the SAT, and those 4 or 5 hours. So it's kind of, for some students, it's the best thing in the world. You know, they might not do very well in high school, but they rock out on the SAT, and it kind of balances out. Where we'll look at also if you're a 4.0 student and you just don't do well in the SAT. I still remember mine, the kid breathing on me in the tapping. It drove me nuts. So don't worry, we know it's a rough test. You can always take it over again, and we just don't look down upon it. It just kind of works out for the type of student that you are.
And I might add that Mount Si is giving the PSAT for juniors on October 17th and the PSAT for sophomores and maybe freshmen too on Saturday, October 20th, which are practice tests for the SAT. Any other questions?
I have a question for the UW, just to complement his last answer. If a student is transferring from a Washington University, what is the chance, like what is the percentage that you guys will take?
The offer rate for Washington State Community College, it really varies by department. And so if we were to just aggregate everyone together, then I would probably say it's about 52%. But that could vary because ideally you're going to be applying to the university's undergraduate program as well as applying to your major. And so if you're looking at one of those competitive majors like architecture or nursing, then that offer rate's going to be different than if you're looking at one of the majors that you just declare like American Ethnic Studies. And so it really varies, and to be honest, it's not very useful for me to just say 52% because it's going to really come down to what department that student's interested in.
Questions?
So, each of you had a totally different deadline for applications, but when should a student be applying?
Now.
I mean, yeah, right now. So everyone's pretty much, so I mean, there's no disadvantage to waiting. I mean, you really should do it as soon as possible.
If a person, let's say, this is first semester, this high school semester. If they are doing extraordinarily well, or they're, if they're continuing the GPA, and they say, hey, my GPA is going to be a lot stronger in January after this quarter, as opposed to today, let's wait. Go ahead and apply in January. If you meet the deadline for whatever institution that you're looking into. But if they apply right now, go ahead and do it. Send it off. You can never apply too early. You can never look into college too early. I know Dr. Ben Carson, as neurosurgeon out of Johns Hopkins, he has a Carson Foundation where as early as 3rd grade, he's giving college scholarships away to students and have them thinking about college 3rd grade, 4th grade, going to junior high school. And before you know it, they're looking at thousands of dollars in scholarships for the time they're in high school. Never too early to apply or look into anything from scholarships to deadlines yet.
And on that note, with WSU, I'm not sure how it works with other institutions, but apply early always, and then as you get new information, just send that updated information in. As things are sent in, files can be updated, reevaluated, looked at with that new information. So really do apply as early as you can, and then just send in that supplemental and that updated information as you get it.
Yeah,
When you meet,
sorry. Oh, okay. I will beat you to it this time. No, just with Western, the reason why we say apply sooner is also for scholarship opportunities. It is kind of first come, first serve. So if your student gets it in soon, not only are they going to be around Thanksgiving time, I don't have to worry about applications. Can eat the turkey without any worries. But it's going to be more of like you're going to know that you have the priority for scholarships. Also, we really don't like it when we get about 3,000 applications January 27th through 31st. Also, the reason why we say sooner the better, because I accidentally got my stuff sent to WSU instead of WWU. So it kind of gives you a little bit of time to, fix those mistakes, whether you didn't get something on, because once it's the 31st, it's the 31st, and we can't notify you in time, because if there's something missing in your application, one of our evaluators will catch it and will notify you that we still need this. Once it's that last week, we won't have time with getting 3,000 applications, so we really do just want to, have as much time as possible and make sure you are prepared, so when we do look at your application, it is done fairly, incomplete, everything's there.
Yeah, and I'll talk now, Lindsay? No. Yeah. And with the University of Idaho, because you can apply the day after you're finished with your junior year, you have all summer. Really, you can get it done, get it in, then we'll just be waiting on your test scores if you haven't taken them yet. And what Casey was talking about, sending in more information as it updates, is if you're coming in your senior year and you apply and you send us an official high school transcript and your grades improve, send that in another updated official transcript to us. You'll bug, your career counselor, but she'll be okay about it, and just get that sent in to us, because that could help with scholarship money because your grades did improve, as well as admission requirements. So just grades improve, send it in.
And I'd just like to add that the counselors go into senior classes early in October and deliver this message. Apply early. Meet deadlines. Be in the first group. Early action is a good thing. Look at scholarship deadlines. So we're encouraging our seniors to be early. We think that's to their benefit when they're applying to schools.
My question is about references. Many out-of-state universities require references, usually 2 teacher references, and then either a peer reference or a counselor reference. And do you have your own form for which the teachers would have to actually fill out for the reference? How does that work for all of your institutions? Because I know I'm discovering it's actually quite different for many universities, including out-of-state universities.
Okay. Well, I think I'm the only out-of-state representative here. And if you guys do the references, chime in. We do not require any references. So, yeah, that clears our question up. There's no special page. You just apply, and we do not need references. You can say that you talked to me. That might help you or hurt you. I don't know. But depending on the time of the year.
So I work with a lot of the transfer students, so I get to see a lot of the different applications that are required by universities. One is the common application, and they have their own form, they have their own format, their own application that you forward to whoever they specify who they want a recommendation letter from. But if you're not working with the common application, then again, if the institution should, if they have a form, they will provide it for you. If not, then if it's just if they just ask you for a recommendation letter, then usually whoever's writing the recommendation letter understands, it's just a formal letter, basically on letterhead, is what they're requiring. So, but most of the time I've seen recommendation letters asked if they're filling out the common application. I haven't really seen too many, or at the program, once they're ready to transfer in as a junior. Some programs, depending on the competitive nature, will require recommendation letters specifically from, and they'll tell you, and those are just general formal letters that are written by the professionals. So.
We recommend it, depending on the applicant as well as the essay. I'm pretty sure it's not required for our application as well. But I know that certain circumstances it's recommended, very similar to any other transfer student that's looking to get into construction management, per se, since we spoke about that a little earlier. If they have either someone that they've worked with on the job site, or anything else that can kind of really benefit the applicant, then we'll recommend it.
Western does not require it. The only time it is really required is if a student is applying to be in the honors program. So most students don't have to do it, but it's kind of nice, to get a different perspective. Really, it just allows us to know you a little bit more outside of your essay, outside of your grades, And if you feel like you want somebody to do that, I had my first grade teacher do it because she's known me and my family, and she's seen me struggle with my math and science. So she, she said things like, I've worked with her for many, many years, and I struggle with math and science even through college. So I thought that was a great reference for me, just so the university could understand my academics and everything, and just how I've struggled since I was a little girl. So in those kind of cases, they're kind of great. But that's how we do it.
Excuse me, I'm going to just jump in right now because I wanted to address that some students coming into high school, they don't do quite as well in their grades, but then they realize their junior year, oh, I do want to go on to college, I better get my act together. And so then they start buckling down. Is this where a letter of recommendation to explain extenuating circumstances can come into play based on whether it's a family situation, maybe something was going on, or a health issue, or a grade dip, and now they're on the incline? I mean, can you address that?
Yeah, so actually at Seattle University, we do require one teacher recommendation and one counselor recommendation of the secondary school report. We are on the common application, as was mentioned earlier, so this is those recommendations can be sent to many other schools that are also on the common application. I encourage students who have exactly what you're talking about there as some sort of, something they want to explain in their application that can't be seen directly on the transcript, to either ask a teacher or a counselor to explain it, or to use the many applications, whether it's the Common App or other ones, have a part that says additional information. So a place where a student can kind of explain those extenuating circumstances. At Seattle University, we have a very holistic review process. So I know many of my colleagues know that too. It's GPA and test scores, but there's a lot of other things that go into it. If I see a dip in a sophomore year and it doesn't go explained, all I can assume is that the student kind of slacked off, which I would say most of the cases is not the situation. Maybe a family member passed away, mono, boyfriend or girlfriend broke up with the student before finals week. Those things can definitely impact your grade trend, and we want to know about it.
And if there's not a recommendation letter required, as some of my colleagues mentioned, they don't have that to get into the program, for admissions requirement, then where that could be addressed is in the personal statement or the essay. That is where they'll want to address that. You want to be open, students. You want to be open about your transcripts and everything, because it's the admissions counselors are going to look at it, so they're going to see the trends and your grades and everything. So the more forthcoming that you can be, then the better application that you can put together. So you'll address that in your personal statement and your essay.
And Mount Sinai counselors and teachers write recommendation letters, and we write a lot of them, just so you know. Okay, 2 more questions.
Okay, I have been hearing a little bit about portfolios that graduating students put together that include volunteer hours, community service type stuff, as if that makes a difference. So I guess I kind of want to hear from you, how important is that? What does it affect? I mean, I'm assuming admissions. And then part B is your answers to the question that you just asked about the references were in the context of admissions, I think. But I'm also interested in knowing how either one of these could also affect scholarships.
I'll go ahead and start that one off. Things like community service hours and letters of recommendation and all those things, at least for WSU, aren't required. Where those really come into play is on the personal statements and the essays that you write for college. And the big part of that is, how do you take those experiences and things that you've gone through and really highlight how they're going to help you academically and make you successful as a student and help you be a good fit at that university. So that's really the big part of it. It's not like on our application, you list you've done this many hours of community service. That's great if you have all those hours. Now, what did you take away from it? And how can you put that towards being an effective student?
And I've seen that experience many, many times be pertinent to scholarship applications. I've worked with so many students, helping them apply for scholarships, and it is, it's to their benefit that they have experience. But again, 1,800 community service hours versus 10. It's, quality. What did you learn? What did you do? And how you address that in your essay when you're applying to scholarships. But almost all scholarships, especially the competitive and the higher amount scholarships, will always ask for what type of, service have you done to the community, what type of work experience do you have, what type of community involvement, through church or what have you, do you have, because they're really taking a look at, how well-rounded of an individual are you? How are you going to represent my organization that's giving you $5,000 or $10,000? What are you going to contribute? Are you going to be a strong alumni? Are you going to possibly come back later on in life and come back and be a strong alumni? So it's very relevant for scholarship applications. And it's just important anyways, the experience and the exposure that you gain. So
I have really one quick question. We want the University of Washington to address it, Carl, if you could, the recommendation question.
We don't read them.
They don't take them, they don't read them. Real simple, so.
Thank you.
We have one more question.
Okay.
Really a question for the representatives from University of Washington and Western. If you could just talk a little bit about the application and admissions process, especially UW, references. Talk a little bit about what you're looking for with the application process and admissions.
Well, I always like to talk about even sometimes like my unique example because I wasn't the best student all the time. As far as like someone asked about community service, I didn't have a lot of time to do community service. I have 6 siblings and 6 nieces. When I was doing Green River Community College, I had 3 car seats in my car and picking each kid up, from Junior Junction, some being Lutheran, and all these daycares and stuff. So my time was pretty much preoccupied. That counts as an activity. So that's something that we really do not want to discount. And a lot of students don't know how to say that. I didn't really have much time for sports or all these traditional things that fall under those, more well-known categories like do I volunteer. Yeah, the best I could do sometimes was a few 5K runs for different organizations. So it's okay if you're not completely always involved. That's where it does play into putting it in your essay and stuff like that. Also things like transferring, I transferred in. Something that made my application a little bit more competitive was the fact that I did exactly what he said, which is planning ahead. So I knew I wanted to do kinesiology, for example. So I took some of the prereqs already at Green River, and that's something that made my application a bit more competitive at that level. Also things like in my essay, I did explain any sort of grades or anything that might affect. And as far as the fact that like my parents immigrated here from a different country, they both immigrated here. I didn't know English as my first language. That's something that can really affect your education and how you do from day 1 to, senior year. So the way our application works is that we really do try to look at every student uniquely and looking at their circumstance and hopefully, integrate that with things like your GPA, your SAT, and everything. But really our admissions process is looking at every student and looking at them in every case and seeing what they want to do. And I honestly came out a stronger student. I came out of there as a 4.0 student, so someone who was admitted at about a 3.0 average left Western as a stronger student. And that's something that I'm really glad that we do at the admissions office, is that we really do look at potential and we really do want every student to succeed, and we'll work with the students. So we want to admit students that we really just want to succeed.
I think at all institutions, we're going to be looking at similar things. And so there's going to be an academic component to our review process, and then there's probably going to be a personal qualities assessment to the review process. So academically, you're going to have the GPA, you're going to have grade trends, if a student's improving or maybe they're heading in the wrong direction. You're going to have the type of classes that they've taken, if they've challenged themselves and they've taken AP and honors classes and things along those lines. You're going to have their test scores. On the personal side of things, we're going to look at their character, their leadership, their commitment, personal hardship that they may have overcome. Cultural awareness may factor into a lot of the review processes. All of us are essentially looking at those things. The level of scrutiny comes down to how competitive the applicant pools are that we're getting. At the University of Washington, obviously we have 27,000 applicants who are applying to the UW. There's GPA of a 3.64 to a 3.92, which is a pretty wide range. And so it really just comes down to the competition and how well that student is competing in that. And so I think if I was just to give just some general advice on how to be successful in winning that competition, it would be to challenge yourself academically, get your grades as high as you can, take the most rigorous courses that are offered at your high school. The students who are going to be admitted in our applicant pool, they find a way to take those hard courses and maintain a high GPA. Get involved in your school, your community, work, and express those things when you're putting together your application. So if you're in your senior year and it's time to apply now, when you're writing those different things, know that we are actually trying to get you to know you better and see what you bring to our institutions. And so I think that there's not a whole lot that's unique about what we look at. It's just how we go about collecting the information that becomes unique. And we rely on the students to give us everything that we need to know, whether that's we don't even ask for transcripts. We get that from the students putting that down on the application. We don't ask for letters of recommendation because we did a study on our applicants and found that there was no difference in the offer rate because everything that we asked the student, we got from that student, the ones who were competitive for admissions. They were articulate enough to put those things down. There wasn't anything new that we were learning from the counselors or the teachers. And so it really just comes down to the factors, and most of us are the same. The level of scrutiny differs depending on how competitive the applicant pools are.
On that note, thank you very much, panel, for being here. Thank